you look closely, it kind of looks like there's a heart in my hair.
Hey everyone, I'm Ajay Fry. Welcome to this episode of 5 on Fry. Orphan Black is back, Pwnage is arriving online sometime soon, and we're blasting off to space and coming back in one piece. Plus, we're talking about some bad parents, and I've got a trailer for an awesome movie that just came out that you may have missed. Let's get started. On Thursday night, Orphan Black returned with its Season 4 premiere, followed immediately by the American premiere of After the Black. It was an amazing episode of Orphan Black. We met a brand new clone named MK, who I think the Clone Club embraced wholeheartedly. And because almost the entire episode was a flashback, we learned so much more about what was going on with Beth before that moment on the train tracks. Watching After the Black and taking in everyone's comments on social media was especially exciting for me because for years I have dreamed of hosting a late-night TV show in America. On the plus side, the reaction was overwhelmingly positive, but there were a few people who were quick to point out that it seemed to them as though I was doing an impression or an impersonation of Chris Hardwick. Honestly, I'm flattered by the comparisons, and I get it. He's a funny, straight, white guy with that TV host look, and he gained a lot of fame for hosting after shows, like Talking Dead, or Talking Saul, or the lesser-known Talking Palin, where he and other American comedians try their best to rephrase Sarah Palin's speeches so that they actually make sense, but it never works. But honestly, as much as I am a fan of Chris's work, I must admit I'm not familiar enough with it to use it as a source of inspiration. Truthfully, if there's one TV host who's still on air today that I might be trying to impersonate in my performance or with my persona, it would be Conan O'Brien. This is true. Back in high school, I used to stay up at night, far past my bedtime, to watch Conan's show because there's no class in high school to teach you how to be a TV show host, and that's what I've always wanted to be. So I just convinced myself it was more important to stay up and watch what he does than, to get a good night's sleep so I could be up early enough for my biology class. And for the record, I still learned plenty in biology. More on that later. As you might have heard me mention on the show before and on Interspace, last year I had the pleasure of playing myself in a small role in a feature film. Based on the incredibly popular gaming web series of the same name, Pwnage, the movie, premiered in Toronto a few months back before it went on a screening tour all over the world. And it was announced this past weekend that the movie will be available to stream on Vimeo as of May 7th. In fact, you can already pre-purchase the movie right now, so when you're done watching 5 on Fry, you can find a link in the description down below. Last week, Elon Musk's, that's a fun word, Musk's, his SpaceX team successfully landed the first stage of an orbital rocket back on Earth on a floating barge for the very first time. This is amazing because up until now, we've been sending astronauts into space using one-use rockets that are incredibly expensive. To offer a bit of perspective, it only costs $200,000 to refuel this rocket and $60 million to make a brand new one. I think this is fantastic news because hopefully it will mean that we can increase the rate at which we send astronauts up into outer space, especially my fellow Canadians like Jeremy Hansen and Natalie Panic. When you watch the news of the day, it's easy to get caught up in feelings of despair when you look at humanity's gross failures. So it's great to have this successful rocket landing to remind us just how far our species has come. Speaking of gross failures of humanity, an Alberta couple is currently standing trial in the death of their 19-month-old son who died in 2012 after a battle with meningitis. The parents have been charged with failure to provide the necessities of life because, and this is true, until they actually admitted him to the ER when he was already suffering with an extreme case of meningitis, they had never, not once, taken him to see a doctor. For any Americans watching, everywhere in Canada, it's absolutely free to take your child to a doctor. You will not get a bill for walking into a doctor's office and saying, "Please, doctor, my child is sick. Have a look at him. Tell me what's wrong." The parents claim they used alternative medicines on their son. And for the record, you know what you call alternative medicines that have been proven to actually work? Medicine. So the big question is, what kind of punishment do you hand out to these parents who have already suffered an incredible tragedy? Personally, I don't think they should go to jail. I think that they should be forced to take 2 years of high school biology classes. And I don't mean at home or online. I mean they should have to go to a high school and sit through 2 years of biology classes with other high school students. Because it should reinforce in them the idea that modern medicine is where it's at today because of hundreds of years of trial and error. What makes people get better stays in medicine. What makes them get worse doesn't stay in medicine. And also, they should be in an actual biology class because nobody in the world makes you feel worse about your failures than high school students. To be honest, if I was presented the option of going back to take biology again, I might actually opt for jail time. But I'm confident I won't ever have to make that decision because if my future children ever get sick, I'm just going to take them to the doctor because I'm not a f***ing idiot. Finally, let's end off with a new trailer for an awesome film that may have flown under your radar. The film is called Neon Demon, and it's by the same director who gave us 2011's Drive starring Ryan Gosling, probably my favorite film of that year. Starring the amazingly talented Elle Fanning, it looks like it's going to be another slickly stylized slow burn of a film that challenges the audience to think more than your standard Hollywood film. Hopefully this episode of 5 on Fry has inspired you to do some thinking of your own. Why not leave me your thoughts in a comment down below? Hit subscribe so you'll catch the next episode and follow me on all the social medias. Thanks again for watching, everyone. We'll see you in the future.